How did other contemporaries see Paul Morphy? A continuation of the study of this wonderful, the first and last years of Paul Morphy that I've given you the link to. Very interesting to delve into the times of the era of Paul Morphy when he lived in the 1800s. And he had a short career and he was almost forgotten because he started to disdain chess because he did not like fame. He really did not like to be in the limelight. For whatever reasons, this author does not really delve into it as deeply as we would like. So let's see this section what it says. Those words for no prize but honor remind me of the sentence in his letter to Staunton. For myself personally, reputation is the only incentive I recognize. His indefatigability was wondrous and his patience unalterable. He could sit out several of the slowest players in a succession without showing any trace of mental or physical fatigue. Notice that he looked like a very delicate, boyish looking type of man, so a lot of people that were older than him did not take him seriously, especially when he was 12 years old and played against somebody that visited him, a high level chess player named Lowenthal. We may explore one of those games in a different video. But let's continue. For many consecutive days during his first days in New York, he played and won continuously from an early hour in the morning until about 1 o'clock the next morning. Even sickness detracted nothing from his mighty genius. Paul Morphy never studied any manual, and his only practice consisted in playing over the games of celebrated masters. His knowledge of chess was intuitive, and nothing seemed new to him. He could not be taught, and it was impossible for him, for he was born a master, or rather the master. All stratagems used by his adversaries to disconcert his play resulted only in facilitating his way to victory. What is your opinion of Morphy, and how would you class him? Once inquired a Louisiana gentleman from a French amateur in Paris shortly after the young conqueror's return to America. Your question is a hard one to answer correctly, replied his interlocutor. Morphy is not to be classed at all, for it is not possible to judge him by the usual standard, and I see no one who may remotely capture with that titan. He baffles the skill of the oldest and most experienced players, and his audacity frustrates their finest plans as easily as a child breaks a toy. His method is his own, and does not resemble that of anyone else. To define it would be a difficult task. He has no use for rules and theory, and does exactly as he pleases. I love this quote. Again, somebody is really enjoying the game of chess in his own way, in his own theories. He did study some masters, that's what his clue is, but our only clue is that he did study masters. So maybe you want to get better, you should be studying the highest masters. But remember, now with angels at play, we have more of a robotic way of seeing things. His was so artistic. He found things that other people didn't. And I bet you if he lived today, even with engines, it would probably frustrate him more because artistic, you know, expression has changed over time, even in music. If you go, I don't know what it is now because I am not 20-some-year-old person, but I remember if you going to some nightclub and they had like sardines music, blah 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 blah, like repetitive, like mindless music, and they call it music. Music has changed so much from where it was, for example, in the 1800s. So can we appreciate, or would he appreciate, engines in our era? I still think he would be very artistic and creative on the chessboard. He probably would study the openings or know things, but he still would create and surprise uh, his opponents. And he says he added, when I first saw Morphy play, I wondered whether it could be Morphy. He played in a deceitfully simple and careless manner. It was, look at the word, that the word is different nowadays. It was queer to observe how recklessly he sacrificed some of his most important pieces. They positively seemed to be in his way. I did not realize that it was Morphy whom I had before me until, with a few unexpected and terrible moves a la Napoleon, He crushed his adversary in the twinkling of an eye, and when the latter hardly suspected the peril in which he stood, his attacks are abrupt, unforeseen, and irresistible, and he pounces on his antagonist like an eagle upon a lamb. And how magnanimous he is! Such praise was verily well deserved. Besides all that, Paul Morphy's appreciation of his opponents was quick and unerring. He merely needed to examine their previous combats to know in what manner and proportion he could vanquish them. In medieval times, he would doubtless have incurred the accusation of having sold his soul. Oh, I don't like this part. No, let's continue. After his return from Europe, he manifested an unaccountable aversion to play chess or converse on that subject, even with companions of yore. Although he did not openly express his repugnance, he so plainly showed it that all avoided the topic with care. So definitely something happened in Europe to have him have such a distaste, and we maybe we shall never know. Maybe there are some people and friends who have family members that wrote notes on this and maybe met him. And somebody somewhere, I'm sure, knows what happened, but there's a distinct difference in attitude towards chess after he comes back in Europe. The question mark, what and who, did something to him in such a manner that this would be such a 180 turn towards chess. All right, thank you for our study of Paul Morphy's information of memoirs of a friend, I believe, that wrote this. And you can find it with the link I give you if you want to read the whole 40 pages. Au revoir.